Oh, so like definitely not the preemption right now, but like right now with the revelation of like the whole incident where like 11 to protect might have taken the lives of that monster, and definitely never think that monster might have gone back then in like of told like basically like 11 attacked like that monster using 11 like to protect my like that monster might have injured died, but like straight away like 11 power might have super powers might have caused like a good tear within between like the real world and that world, and that tear might have quickly swallowed in 11. Yet like another the victim 11 was like in a badly exhausted stage at that point, and coupling that with like and so the like the reason 11 even being able to even though 11 has superpowers, like the reason for like 11 being able to like create such a tear would be like the main reason would be like for enough energy laboratory, like and so like it would be like the tear that like that 11 might have created through amplifying like the already existing energies in like Brenner's energy laboratory might have been only made it possible for like uh, that one scientist who might have only betrayed Brenner in like the very beginning, then being able to like create that gate in like Brenner's energy laboratory at that point might have been what might have happened, especially when brain because that definitely that uh, the and it might be at that point that they really like the energy coupling with like elements like superpowers might have caused like the holding between like the real world and that world to happen. It might be even to the person who is staying in that exact same situation even right now. It's definitely one of the so like totally due to that incident from way back then might be the whole reason for like 11 back then at how the show like basically like 11 still using 11 like superpower being able to like create that pair within like the real world and battle world and getting swallowed into like the battle world. Even that is possible for 11 without 11 while 11 is not even in front of like the laboratory under like the necessary condition. It is precisely because of like the already existing open state of like the gate in like front of the laboratory is definitely one of the so like I was let me specifically remember for like what might have happened after like and since like 11 of it and like the pair might between like the real world and parallel world that followed like 11 might have quickly opened up and quickly go straight away so might internet and so what might have hurt. So like I was like definitely right now with like 11 in like the parallel world. Like I'm basically like definitely like right now the scenario that I'm basically like right now is like 11 like that focus very school parallel world would be right now itself like would be running into like as Hopper and Joe that like they would be like carrying Will and like trying to quickly get back Will to like to save Will to get back Will to like the real world to like run up gate and up the level gate and that way to enter into like the real world. So like at that point they might be like they were right now running into like 11 in like the how it might be what might have happened. Remember things and I was something like to see that Hopper might have like Hopper 11 as well as like Joyce carrying well the more might have quickly rushed towards like the and got near to like the gate from of like the runners and the above reaching like the panel but so like right before them entering into like the uh right before them entering into through that gate into like the real world into like runner and the above since like at that point of the even 11 as well as like as well as like Hopper would be totally unaware of like basically runners that is definitely not information because like definitely with that monster back then attacking like runners definitely runner might not be like just me my friends and like since like during that time like 11 was like hiding from that monster element like my canvas front in that locked up room and like talking to cold like something like 11 might have not used her since it was like a tense situation 11 might have not been using a superpower so like 11 as well might be like totally unaware as well as Hopper as well might be that actually would have been like totally unaware of runners has back then definitely my friend so like a writer like George with like carrying Will and like Hopper along with like 11 were about had almost reached close to like that gate and was about to enter into like for another masculine or real like the real world through that gate. At that point, like Hopper might have only realized that it would be like totally a mistake to like straight away to spring like 11 into like the real world through like that gate in like Panasonic laboratory because like at that point like Hopper might have only said that if you run around like and the team would be like straight away with this seeing 11 and they will be like straight away once again like impersonating 11 so like once again like 11 will be having to live that life of like absolute imprisonment and suffering. So to say 11 like what Hopper might have always straight away came with the idea and might have told Joyce about the of like the necessary of like change 11. So like Hopper might have told Joyce to like straight away but like while carrying the like straight away to like basically end up through that gates and straight away into like the real world in like run up energy laboratory and like straight away get into like the classroom of possible and like once like the runners like see at that point on entering to like one of the laboratory would be asking her about like Hopper like tell them that basically Hopper was like chased by the monster might have been like the strategy that like Hopper might have told Joyce to new things. So like Joyce might have done exactly that. So like other people like Joyce might have entered into like another laboratory carrying the while Hopper might have used the strategy and that strategy might have been like specified like at that point just one different like strategy that Hopper might have used in like the house in like the middle of the woods and like I'm so like it is precisely been in within like Northwood for where like the house where like in like the certain right now lack of like hiding 11 in that house would be like might be some critical amount of information that house would be like the would the action actuality would be like most likely pop up and such like that from Benny like I'm going to like how from Benny might have been but from way back especially when so like it might have been that the home uh, they might have been streets within like the house they might have been streets within like the in like the system park so that like they could like uh, so that like, they could have that they can just have fun in that so that have that upload right and everything without any disturbance and like so that like they could still like and that move uh might have been like the case of the event so like Hopper might have remembered this about like this house and like that being like the house might have felt that that house being like people think like they would be like the perfect place to like hide Eleven and to ensure Eleven's like safety by hiding 11 until like 11 eventually like Hopper would be able to like gather up all the evidence like all the evidence to basically like involving like going up and just like experiments and this like lab and everything uh, and like basically so that like for something like basically slowly eventually like gather up all the necessary evidence to like eventually bring run up and just like and their team to like justice and get them upset and punished and sent to jail. Like this might have been like Hopper's ultimate plan. Certainly, so like until then, like Hopper might have planned to like decided to like hide 11 so that let's take 11 safe until then, so that like once like Brenner and his like entire team would be getting arrested and sent to jail. Like at that point, for like Hopper to like basically like so that like at that point like finally like Hopper could like totally bring 11 to like careers and basically like so that finally at that point like careers would be finally getting reunited. Hopper could like finally get a career to get reunited with like 11 and 11 could like, get reunited with like careers and basically and all that like basically so like this might have been Hopper's plan. So like what Hopper might have done at that point might have been like after like Hopper spending like Joyce guiding the like straight away through that case. Like Hopper might have straight away like told 11 to like to come with like Hopper and his lead. Hopper and 11 might have gone up to like the mustard forest in like the Paralwood and he entered deep into like that mustard forest in like the Paralwood, found that house and basically might have told 11 to that to hide there, to enter into like the river through that house might have been what Hopper might have told 11. So like, like at that point that 11 might have totally used into the of like the remaining energy of 11 and I was like with Hopper like there might have certainly been like when Hopper as well as they had entered into like the Paralwood back then like they might have only carried food for the certainly I would remember like there might have been like remaining food skills remaining with like Hopper but like Hopper might have given all that food to like 11 at that point and basically that way, like, 11 might have been gotten recharged and gained back a bit of like 11 stamina. So, like, at that point, 11 might have been able to like use 11 like superpower to the extent to be able to like once again create like uh, create like a tear in that like between like the real world and parallel world and that way like from the walls, most likely from the walls of that house in like the parallel world house of film to like over the people in like the woods in like the parallel world uh, like 11 might have created like the created like the proper like there and to be like might have gotten follow from like the parallel world to like the real world and might have straight away ended up falling into that house in like the real world within that into that house keep into the food in like the real world might have been what like happens simply now in this like then Hopper might have like told all of his plans to like 11 and the necessary for necessity of like 11 having to fight not only for 11 own safety alone but also for like the safety of Mike and the others as well might have been definitely what like Hopper might have told 11, especially even though 11 badly might have wanted to like he might like saying this might have totally calm down 11, and 11 at that point might have totally felt right. It's like if like 11 like if like once again found by runner of like things that is literally after 11 to chapter 11. And basically if 11 meets back with Mike, like they will be trying to like save 11 that way Mike and the others would be like only getting into trouble because of 11 will be along the lines like either Hopper might have told 11 or like 11 at that point like 11 might have only felt the specific on this. So like 11 that way like agreeing to like Hopper plan to like stage it until like Hopper would be able to gather enough electric like bring that run up and team to get that run team up the and everything. Certainly my brain. So that might have been what might have happened. So like I was hearing, so like then after like sending 11 back then through like into that house from like the bad world to like the real world, what might have done might have been like Hopper might have straight away head back to like that gate in like from the front of the laboratory from like the bad world and from like the bad world through like the gate in like the real world to like Hopper might have entered. So like I was like at that point like the brothers feel they are like might have Hopper to like what happened and basically Hopper might have told them that lie that basically that he was saved by like the monster but like he luckily managed to like escape from the monster and make it back. So like basically like and that like Hopper and Rose had got a place when like the monster had chased them and basically like the that like Hopper had distracted like the monster so that like Joe could like escape and that's why Joe basically had made it through the gate just like the first and basically that's why Hopper was only able to like pass through the gates and make it to like Renaissance Villa, but being like the real world only at that time. Like might have been along the lines that like Hopper might have told like in a stream at that way like Hopper might have probably tricked the entire pit like in one of stream might have been what might have happened. Certainly not the image. Like this might have been what might have happened and after like leaving like runners end of the laboratory. At that point, so straight away, like Hopper might have like first of all ensured that he wasn't being trailed or being spied on or being followed by anyone like runner and okay, but he might have cross-checked that like multiple times and like he might have straight away head off to like that form. Yeah. So like my reference was that like at that point like either Hopper might have ensured that like first ensured that like he wasn't being followed by any of like runner's team and then like Hopper might have like straight away steadily might have head over to the woods in like the real world. I think so that home peak within like the woods in like the real world and met with like 11 in like the real world. Might have been either that might have been what might have happened or like Hopper might have probably left that box near three within like that box like Hopper might have left that box and this might have been that according to like the plans that Hopper might have made with 11 that basically to like to ensure like 11 like safety that like Hopper like the plan for Hopper to like go some to that come with the 11 in that form for a while but like for Hopper to like only leave food in that hole or that like Hopper might have told 11 that like, he would like place the box in nearby to that home and basically they are like deep within that forest like he would be placing food so that like even could like safely that one after like Hopper would be leaving that from that location that 11 should like come and take 11 can come and take the food from that box and basically that way 11 for 11 like survive without like the presence of like Hopper for a while until like basically run up and his team would be like finally deciding during nothing suspicious with like Hopper and deciding to like stop like the spy of Hopper would be along the lines maybe like Hopper might have planned and strategized and so 11 before like sending 11 from like the battlefield to like the real world into that forest deep within like the woods into through that like forest deep within like the woods like the battlefield to like the real world. Might have been maybe what might have happened, especially with my for so like maybe my three impressions are like then like after like a few weeks passing like I was like Hopper might have only felt that basically he my Hopper might have cross checked multiple times and he might have ensured that like absolutely no one is like and none of like Runner's team is like spying on Hopper. So like when Hopper was like absolutely certain of it like Hopper might have one day like might have like went to that post and might have went all the way into like visiting 11 in that home. People and the ways like 11 outside. Hopper has taken us 11. It's like the scenario that end of the night. So like since then, like Ambassador, like Hopper might have been visiting 11 every night and having dinner with like 11 every night. This is definitely what might have been happening. And this even to leading to like the process. Definitely, my friend is and I'm friend through that and Hopper might be enjoying every bit of like that for finding of like spending that all that time with like 11. That's definitely my good friend of whatever time that Hopper gets to like spend with like 11. Like Hopper will be enjoying every bit of it, especially because of like Hopper will be like Hopper right now would be like okay even though 11 won't be able to like replace Sarah, like still Hopper, that other Jackson having lost with like Dr. Sarah and like the past, definitely Hopper will be able to like relieve some of that feeling of like having a lot that he had been that he had with the lab and like through 11 might be what's like happening. So like Hopper will be thoroughly, even though Hopper won't be like showing it, like Hopper will be thoroughly enjoying every bit of like seeing him to like spend time with like 11. Of the time that he spends with 11 is definitely my very ambitious. Also, like specifically, I don't remember some like when like till after like when being saved by Copper and Joey, like they didn't like the fan for like after 1 month itself, like they really when like the first insurance that might be exactly when like the first insurance that might have been like that very first insurance that might have happened for well like basically after like the whole 1 month like basically with like will vomiting like the part of like the monster and basically with like will even seeing like the parallel from like the real world that incident like that happening for like the first time for Wells might have happened exactly during that Christmas night, exactly 1 month after like Will being saved. Might have been that exact scenario, especially when looking at it. So like Will might have that might just Will might have maybe initially decided not to like tell story like to keep it to himself. But like I'm thinking Will that night might have not been able to like sleep at all. So, like and that night like later that night like Will might have gone up to Joyce's room and Will might have told Joyce about like the situation with like Will that was going on with Will and basically Joyce might have told that to like Hopper. So like I was like at that point like I was like maybe like the very next day Hopper might have straight away like the very next night itself like I was like Hopper might have only visit at 11 or that night itself like Hopper might have straight away gone up to that house deep in like the house and might have met with like 11 and might have told 11 about next Will situation. Certainly I was like Hopper might have definitely told uh, uh, 11 about like the situation of with like the whole health situation and everything going on with Will. Certainly, maybe even from way back then, definitely my resident. Because like Homer Wade only is actually like 11 have a lot of knowledge when it comes to like the battle world and it comes to like all the monsters and everything. So Hopper might have had that absolute hope that 11 will be if anyone could save Will that would be definitely relevant to be like along the lines like of my dot only well. And the case of like runners team like of my dot only not about faster than to like basically actually like what was like a remaining of runners team like of my dot only generally not faster than of my generally believe that like, they won't be at all trying to like save them. So like I'm going to believe of my dot that season of my dot definitely been 11 times 11 alone would be able to like save this. Might have been what might have strongly felt so like Hopper uh, might have only met with like 11 that very night, especially might have to understand might have told about like the situations to like 11. And like at that point, like I'm also like 11 might have already told Hopper that 11 might have been totally able to like understand what's going on with like Will. And 11 might have probably told Hopper that like this monster could like really grown with it. Will might have been what like 11 might have told Hopper and so like it even might have told Hopper that really large that Hopper has to like wait until like the monster like gets bigger and big that growth then will gets bigger and bigger to the point that like human will be actually able to like use 11 like superpower against that to like attack like that monster but, until that like Hopper would have to like wait until like the monster within will like grows to reach like a big enough size where like even could like actually use up superpowers to like actually be able to like attack that and take the life of that monster and destroy that monster from within will might have been what and that way to save it that way eventually like save well might have been certainly the assurance that like even might have given to Hopper certainly back then all way back then certainly one of the same reason. So then like I'm looking like Hopper might have decided to like use the whole situation with skills to like offer advantage. So like I'm looking what Hopper and I'm maybe and there was a remote possibility that like maybe that night like and Hopper had visited 11 to talk about well maybe like Joyce as well might have been present along with that pop-up that then. So also like I was into that angle. So like that was like the scenario back then now so like but it wouldn't just be Hopper alone that would be even in like the person would be like totally putting on a fake act in front of like the doctor in like front of lab right now. for like them placing all that hopes in like that of like Renaissance of the laboratory alone being able to like save will, but like I'm naturally I'm maybe it would just be Hopper alone. I don't know anything from that will be putting on a fake act, but like Joyce as well might be like totally and absolutely putting on a fake act is like in front of those doctors that may have them. But like they might have not thought about like 11 being able to like save will to the new automated terrain. So Will won't be like Will and Johnson might not be aware of this. So like what to that and and I'm also like Johnson might not be sure aware of it. And definitely like Johnson might absolutely not aware of of like the health issues and the situation with Will like I'm also like and Joe might have decided to like keep it a secret for Johnson like I'm also maybe Hope might have showed Joyce to like to just keep it to herself that like the more that just like for information but like the more likelihood of like their plan ending up being a failure and that plan that like also might have just with like Joyce might have been to like state will to like Varnasan of the laboratory to like basically in a way as like they're concerned for like well-being and that how might have told Joyce that basically definitely Joyce doesn't have to like worry about bills definitely in eventually be able to like save will but until then like basically like that we have to stay put on a fake act as if like we are taking like will to like basically to get treated by like the doctor at like under the laboratory who definitely won't be trying to like add to this rate will would be like these things that also might have told just even beforehand the definitely member parameter. But like in the name of like taking will to like basically Prangat Energy Laboratory hop-up would be able to that way infiltrate into like Prangat Energy Laboratory repeatedly that way, and that's where to be able to like steadily gather up all sorts of evidence to basically eventually like shut down and bring down like Prangat Energy Laboratory as well as like the remaining members of like to bring like the remaining members of Prangat Lab to like just get and to close the gate leading to like the backward and everything for like pop up to be able to so that like finally 11 as well will be able to like finally free and will be able to like rejoin join up with like will be able to finally meet up with like careers and live with like careers have now that like basically to make all this happen basically Hopper needs evidence and like basically to that's in the name of like taking will to like get treated to like run out another lab of free Hopper might have uh, reveal the strategy to like join that basically in that for that process like Hopper will be like able to collect more and more evidence that we steal from that foreigners and the laboratory that more and more evidence to eventually bring down like put the complete end to like the kind of the laboratory of that and that thing uh, and everything might have been what Hopper might have told Joyce. So like and also being then like Joyce as well as like Hopper might have been totally putting on a shake act by going to like the by taking Will to Renaissance to see the doctor like Renaissance laboratory to get like to have Will that have it that help that that is definitely my service. But like initially when Hopper might have really planned like those might have been extremely worried for it. As for like the walking tape, like even if Jack Brenner had died, like the remaining members of Brenner being firstly in Wills and basically calming Will, there might have been the fear within Joyce at that point, like the possibility that I'm looking at. But like I'm looking at Hopper, I don't give that assurance to Joyce that basically definitely so like what Oppenheimer told Joyce might have been that is really that absolutely they might have given Joyce that absolute assurance that like absolutely no harm won't be like Opera being sure that absolutely no harm would come to like Bill while taking while say we putting on the fake act and taking Bill to see that Opera and the film of it that like Hopper would be like not allowing them to like basically to treat Bill in like the absence of like Hopper or choice, like basically while they are in like the laboratory and all that, like they don't that the offer would be that adamant about like basically like no matter what treatment they give, like with of only doing it in like the process of offer and so and basically along the lines like offer might have that way like absolutely no harm would be come to like by taking them to like conversion of the laboratory will be along the line and like simultaneously like offer will be able to like get all the evidence he needs so such a fake acting might be along the lines that Hopper might have only give an assurance to that Joyce and basically eventually might have gotten Joyce uh, to agree to like Hopper to like basically put on the fake act by taking it to like front of the laboratory like repeatedly. it's definitely like what might have happened in like it's definitely my dream. Okay, so like the limit of preemption right now for like 11 right now, something is seeing like in like the panel, in like the panel, but like 11 right now, something is seeing this like a red fog. This will be definitely the buffer created by like some monster until like entered into like the public like the real world. So remember, so like back then, so remember, so like 11 like definitely since like 11 had shout out for Mike just now, like and like Papa and Joyce right now would be like definitely their situation right and during that point might have been like them might have saved quilts and might be like planning on like getting out of like housing port from like the battle world. Might have been when like they might have heard like the shouting from Mike by 11 right there itself from the right there that in like the house was full with the battle world. Might have been like scenario. So like I'm looking right now for like Hopper select only through theorex like 11 boys like Hopper right now finding 11 as like the scenario that I'm like as Hopper would be as 11 would be staring at that ramp for the like right now itself in like Hopper and Joyce with along with that Joyce carrying like well like I'm looking them totally spotting 11 there. And I was looking at Hopper straight away telling 11 to like enter through that portal into the real world. And basically that way, like 11 along with like Hopper as well as Joes. And I was looking maybe like Hopper telling like at that point, Hopper probably telling like Joyce to like enter into like the Joyce who would be like carrying Will to like this. I'm looking at that point, Hopper telling like Joyce to like only like carrying Will to like basically quickly like put Will into like the real world through that red portal, and then like Joyce would be like entering into like the real world through that red portal that basically the number people Hopper would be like then would be entering into like the real world through that portal, and then Hopper will be telling like 11 to like then after Hopper like 11 will be entering, and straight up 11 would be that through that portal would be entering into like the real world. So like Hopper will be like well aware of like basically of the importance of like hiding 11 from like Pranav scene. And my dream wishes for like earlier for like when Popper was in like captivity, Popper and those were in like captivity and like when the laboratory during the second preparation like at that point for Popper, so he actually given out like the location of 11 while knowing like 11 was good like the end of really precisely for Popper's attempt to like basically like while putting on a fake actor like Popper not caring about like 11 at all for not seeing 11 as like human. Like actually that might have been totally how perspective that so that like basically even if that 11 has to once again go through that like whole imprisonment in like Ramadan Villa page like that way it might have been like proper prioritizing like the lives of like migrants and suffering. That's definitely my brain. Proper might have been efforts that even though 11 would be have to like suffer through in exchange of like protecting like migrants and suffering like even though 11 would have to like suffer in exchange as like a consequence like in like Pranasana laboratory still like Hopper might have been determined to like basically still eventually to like gather evidence and really like bring down Pranav and his team and shut down Pranasana laboratory and save 11 like Hopper might have felt that since after that he would be definitely eventually able to like do it eventually and that way stage 11 and bring 11 to like careers might have been that confidence that Hopper might have had. But like in that situation, while in captivity, like the number rates might have been saving will that might have been like Hopper's like higher top priority. So like saving will as well while ensuring that like on and the team doesn't harm Mike, Lucas and Dustin and Jonathan might have been like the necessary thing that like Hopper might have want and Hopper might have wanted that Hopper like biggest priority during that whole situation that was hoping that exactly my difference and that may be the preparation for like Hopper like actually giving out like the location of like the to like runners and like that might have been that episode of conference of Hopper that is really thinking along the lines of the really that even if runners found that they found like Mike discipline along with like 11 lakhs runner might not take the life of like Mike and the thinker might have been that that runner might just quietly leave with like after like taking 11 might have been along the lines like Hopper might have the Lisbon like Hopper might have only felt that in league. Hopper might have like observed like 11's like friendship with like Mike and Hopper might have only even felt that they believe to protect Mike like they believe uh, it's for like and sustain to like not Mike's 100% of like that 11 would be only that letting Hustle get captured by Turner and his team might have been also along the lines like Hopper might have felt that Hopper might have only felt that like 11 was like way too mature of like gap. So foster age and all that. It's certainly my generation. So definitely like I'm looking right now for like through like 11 right now seeing that red portal from like the Hawkins school is the tablet right now going like copper and all of them like copper and gold right now like seeing 11 and they did them more through that red portal like bringing to like the real world and at that point like copper will only thinking of that taking advantage of that situation to like really hide as soon as possible hide 11 because like Joyce would give us like a proper recall stuff that Joyce would be like a friend to like the real world Joyce would be able to like fight himself would be able to get things to like the hospital and so like Hopper might have prioritized like the safety of 11 at that point so like Hopper from like might have but like 11 might have entered into like the real world and straight away like at that point so, like Hopper might have split up with like Joyce and with at that point so, Hopper might have told Joyce to like basically not speak a word about like seeing 11 in like the barrel versus anyone has really anyone like might be around the line that Hopper might have told Joyce at that point so it's continuing right and Hopper and 11 and Joyce carrying will might have split up at that point like it's another that emotion. So like the moment they might have entered into like the real world Hawkins going to go through that portal itself like they might have actually might have entered through entered into like a location that like Hawkins school where like absolutely no one was like present at that location area in like Hawkins school might have been like scenario. So, once on entering into like the real world through that restaurant, like Robert might have straight away, like quickly, like might have, along with 11 might have quickly escaped from like Robin's school and might have like Robert might have quickly, like quickly might have like that might have been that forest nearby to like Hawkins Middle School and then moving through that forest like Hawkins might have maybe reached like maybe Marcus Forest like or like it might be Marcus Forest that would be like so huge and that would be like nearby like Hawkins School as well. It's also like and the possibility that I would so like anyway or like it would be in that forest that would be near to like Hawkins Middle School like people within that forest might be where like Hopper would be having good like that house that might have at one point like about might have belonged to like both Hopper as well as Penny. So you remember bring it to like Hopper might have that way got taken and got 11 to that handled 11 in that home right there deep within that box. That would be like next to like Hawkins School. That might be how like Hopper might have saved 11 certainly might and kept like 11 to like survive as secret from everybody else. So like it will be just Hopper as well as Joyce alone that we know that like 11 had not died, that 11 had survived. Even while like they might have seen like things had nothing like Michael Sanderson's case of like them totally believing that like 11 have died like basically. And once like the Will recovered like and I was wondering like citizens like Will was like extremely exhausted when like Joyce and Hopper had found Will in like dust and they are even found it when like Hopper as well as like Joyce had found it in like the battle word talking for like so like I'm like Will might have not seen like this might have not realized that like might have not seen or like might have not realized that at that point like 11 as well like being having survived during that and being alone for temporarily during that time being even seen like next to like Bill at that point and all that like Bill as well might have not realized that certainly not different. So like even while so far and those after like after saving Will like basically even after and after like having Will switch over like basically even after like Hoffa as well as the Joyce might have only seen like big screen that nothing like Michael's kind of thing. Especially Michael's face like because we still like definitely Hopper as well as Joyce might have stuck to their plan and might have decided to like keep the information about like real information about like the survival of like 11 the secret from like Michael was kind of thing for like the safety of both 11 as well as like Microsoft and like Hopper and Jones might have kept that a secret even to the person certainly Michael Bay and not only from Microsoft and Dustin but also from Bill as well like and with my Hopper as well as with might have kept that a secret even might have been certainly offices what might have happened even to like the certainly Michael Green. Okay, so like the clean of the Korean picture right now has got like 11 back then like haven't escaped from like the house made of stores in like the bad words to like the house stored in like the real world through that purple all by herself like so and like right now it's like 11 walking around like house sold in like the real world like that is my the impression right now is for like a scenario to be like as like Hopper and Joy would be like right now and like Hopper and Joy would be like carrying the land would be like trying to escape from like the parallel world through like with their intent to like easily make it all the way back to like the gate and like run out into the work and that day for them to like escape back into like the real world would be like so like runners and the laboratory with that in that like as like Hopper and Joyce would be like sharing will like would be like rushing trying to rush and rush out of like the Hawkins board from like the battle world like and between like Hopper and Joyce like talking seeing the like huge profile within like Hawkins board in like the battle world which like uh, created by the monster and enlarged by 11. So like I'm going through that like I'm looking like Hopper as well as Joe right now with like with like basically clearly like entering into like the real world. So that's what right now might have been what might have happened. It's definitely one of the impression. So uh then like straight away as like Hopper choice and Long will had entered into like the real world at that point like maybe like they might have straight away seen like 11 like walking under the distance like within like that open hole in like the real world. Oh, so like definitely one of the great question right now was like 11 backs that have it on from Hawkins were told like they have made like all the way back towards like Microsoft and with like 11 being like all the police staff like and with like all the people being a part of like runners team that they my doctor impressions were like right now like 11 years in telepathy would have only read like the minds of like my mother and all those people there as well as my mother as well, especially my my staff as well, especially my friends. And that one like 11 method only to allegedly basically return back to like microphone for the time being would not be like a good idea. I thought might have been what like 11 might have felt so like and we were like 11 might have decided to like actually to like maybe that because like I'm looking at this is like my parents with, like 11 trading the mindset of my parents and realizing that even they are right now knowing about like 11 and stayed in the basement of like my zombies and that time and all that like I'm looking like they might have decided to like really meet up with like my next the next day while Mike would be on his way to next school. So like until then 11 might have only planned to like hide in like mushroom ball. It might have been like 11 plan I couldn't remember then. So like 11 with that intent 11 might have decided to basically go up to mushroom ball and hide in like mushroom ball. So like I was like at that point, like 11 might have been like walking on the roadside, like back towards like Mother Forest, might have been what might have been happening, especially on the mentioned. So like while this could be happening on one side, like I'm in the case of like Hopper as well as Joyce, like Hopper as well as Joyce carrying, well, like they might have like made it all the way back from like the parallel world through like the gate in like Pranatha laboratory, usually like the real world into like Pranatha laboratory. And there, like I'm looking into there might have been this very same doctors like right now in the person taking care of like it's like that actually like the name of rating is like actually rating will basically as like one of the level to this with same doctor might have been present back then as well in the level. So like as soon as like shows carrying Bill and Hopper had entered from like the variable to like the real world through the gate in like one of the level. Which very way this doctor might have told them that basically he will treat Bill. So like at that point, I'm like Joe might have uh, George might have not at all wanted that, and George might have straight away ran off with like while carrying the lens, George might have not let him create the lens. George might have only ran off out of like Fernando on the laboratory along with Black Hopper, and basically Hopper and George might have simply taken Will. Hello, George might have only simply taken Will to like the near hospital. Might have been what might have happened, but even the ranges. So and up with the like sort of selling offer that basically that like they have gotten will to like the hospital right on time. That might have been what like the doctor might have thought of as well as so like that might have been an absolute relief for like not only Joyce but also to like Hopper and so that absolute relief. And so like my experience is that like Hopper after spending a few hours at like the hospital like Joyce might have thought for something like Joyce might have thanked Hopper so much and Joyce might have told Hopper to like basically that like he needs to like get back and basically he needs to but like basically along the lines like Joyce might have told Hopper and also like Hopper might have but like a smile might have decided to like get back to this home and the thing as Hopper might in like the middle of the night as Hopper was like riding back home like considering Hopper might have been driving back home, like Hopper's home would be like along it would be like through much before that Hopper would be like Hopper's home would be like the path to Hopper's home. Like that road would be like on the path would be on the side of that road that would be like towards like the path that would be leading to like Hopper's home. So like at that point might have been like riding his car and basically towards his home, like in that home, like basically at that point, like stopping, we might have seen that event, like walking on the opposite side of that road. Might have been like that, like Hawk might have ran into like 11 at that point in like the middle of the night. Like might have been like that, might have been that absolute shocking surprise for like Hawk. And then like Hawk on seeing 11, like Hawk might have straight away formed the strategy to like hide 11 on that side house. That would be most likely these weapons like not would fall down to like Hawk and thing. And that might have been how that Hawk might have hidden 11 in that home, in that house. Might have been what might have happened, especially when the mention right now. So like the minimum equilibrium percent right now with like even back say on like the very day when had this year like we might having even seen like that very night itself like even through like the window of the phone like the minimum with the still like for like Mike without having any reaction at all. And Mike won't even rushing towards like the window to like see if it's actually 11 like all that the reason would be especially because of like when Mike because like back then like Mike hasn't seen like 11 with the pair writing or the side so like I'm gonna say during that time, like might have been absolutely certain, even though Mike just want to believe it still might have been absolutely certain that Disney Eleven has actually died by trying to take out that monster using the learn paper power. Might have been that absolute certain feeling within Mike, and so like when and I'm thinking about Eleven had stored up outside of like the window of Mike's phone, and Mike had seen 11. Like I'm thinking 11 might have only stood there for just very few seconds, like for just one, just 2 or 3 seconds alone, before like 11 might have seen like those people of color like President Mike and Chipley might have left specifically ran away, especially in the brain. So like might have only seen 11 there outside like his window only for the few 1 or 3 seconds alone. Especially when this might be the reason for like Mike might have been seriously confused because like at that point like there might have been that absolute certainty that Mike's mind that is 11 Mike had seen 11 place it's right in front of his eyes like 11 has definitely died in the along the lines Mike might have also like seen 11 in just for a few seconds like myself totally might not only confuse Mike so like that might be like and like just within a few seconds like 11 had to feel like Mike might have been like yeah, please stare towards that window to that really to see if that if it was thinking like hallucination or imagining things or like there was actually influence and there like my was that share there while not being able to like believe that like it was actually anyone that was standing outside like my home window, especially when I was a restaurant. So like why actually like the reason for like when Mike at that point might have not been convinced that it was just it was 11 that Mike might have been leaning more towards like the feeling that like it was just Mike imagining things and Mike had seen like someone outside of the window. And it's quite the reason for like Mike just simply staring and not having any reaction and Mike not rushing through the window to see if like someone was actually there or not. It's the element of the impression. That's what like the reason for that exact such um a weak reaction by from Mike at that point. Definitely Mike was very unusual. Because like my membership that during that time like my I definitely in that absolute shock of seeing 11 is there finally for my side that like my in that absolutely strongly let's strongly believe that 11 have died but like it might have took a few days to pass for like my that black hole seeing 11 outside of like, the window that whole incident to like finally set in for Mike and for Mike to like actually think along the lines of like the possibility of like 11 actually being alive and what Mike might have seen outside of his like window that basically of seeing 11 standing there even if it's for a few seconds that the possibility of that not being like Mike only like being delusional or anything but like or like hallucinating but like Mike that might have actually been 11 that basically might starting to think along such lines like might have happened after like a few days when like Mike's mind might have that kind of like calmed down a bit. Definitely Mike was very so like my career position for like Berners being like frantically searching for 11 at like 11 with like hiding beneath which three in the like for like I'm thinking that possibly that really close to like Microsoft. It's a clean Berners. So like what 11 might have done might have been 11 might have stood there like hiding beneath that tree between the together. Worried like I was like 11 might have not moved and stayed there until like the whole sounds of like the helicopters as well as like flashlights around like everything that we need of like the team of like running a certain for 11 like all that might have stopped like it might have been that one like all that stopped and all that sound had stopped as how like the helicopter and they have stopped like 11 might have slowly like basically came out of like hiding from that tree and might have like decided to like hide somewhere deep within that forest. And like as 11 might have walked deeper and deeper into that forest, like 11 might have found them like how deep within that forest, and it will be like there like 11 might have stayed hidden there. So like I'm thinking like maybe like the next day, like maybe it might have been like the very next day, or like maybe it might have been 2 or 3 days later, like I was like Hopper might have decided to like basically to like basically since like Hopper at that point might have totally feeling like with like him finally having found and saved Will, like another thing at that point Hopper might have decided to like and chill out and to like all by himself in that home, in that house deep within that forest, like where like I'm stepping about the it might have been like a house where like Benny and Hopper might have like stayed in the house. So like I'm like Hopper might have came there and like there and but like Hopper might have got like might be at that point when like Hopper might have chosen go up to that house, like totally unaware of the like Eleven's presence in that house and like showing up there and basically him shockingly seeing like Eleven there might have been what might have happened, and that might be how like Hopper might have uh, and that might be like even the point when like Hopper might have totally realized that like Eleven had actually survived. And that also might have right now another so it's the feeling of reimbursement right now and for like go relevant for badly and still and go for like the had interest of reading like ambassadors possible like the thing about the reimbursement like after like the day that 11 had gone had disappeared in front of Mike like and the song like and since that day that like Mike had seen like 11 outside of like his like home window like I'm like since that day like each and every single day leading up to like since like Mike has been to like be making cheating count on like each and every single day since like 11 has disappeared. But each and every single night day like after like 11 disappearing might have like multiple times might have tried to like use this like a radio phone to like with like to communicate with like 11 but like each and every single time was like the efforts might have failed repeatedly. This doesn't leave my from the emergency. So like definitely I'm preferring like the precise reason would and I'm preferring like by the time like that very night itself like might have felt like or like it might have been like day after that might have first used this like a radio phone to like try to like communicate with like 11 at that point. But like by then like Hopper might have totally found 11 in that house and basically Hopper might have told 11 about like the strict rules to like never make contact with like uh, anyone basically that about like the extreme seriousness of like the danger that like is is like danger that exists for 11 like any of the streams find out about 11 and all that like easily. So solely due to that reason like I'm just end up 350 something days like I'm the Mike might have been like repeatedly like each and every single time multiple times like might have tried like using a stack radio phone might have tried to like contact 11 and each and every single time like 11 might have been able to like hear like using 11 just 11 have all this power like 11 might have been able to like successfully hear like Mike desperately trying each and every single day to like contact 11 and basically the saddest thing like Mike like the all that using her telepathic powers and all that like she might have been able to like sense all that like it might have been extremely as much as it will be like extremely saddening for Mike, like it would be the very same or even more like it would be saddening for 11 as well. That like 11 like even while hearing like Michael's voice which and every single day through like the while Michael was trying to communicate through the radio and get like solely due to that 11 situation like 11 not being able to like respond back to like Mike like basically and that was bring like since right now like almost the whole year since like 11 had contacts with like Mike has ended like I'm looking for that but like right now 11 like basically that 11 will get only those pages and obviously that's because of for like 11 even trying to take advantage of like the whole Halloween situation to like basically try to like meet with Mike and ask him Hopper about it and all that. So like the near my premise is that like basically this like Halloween like I'm looking for like especially Hopper will be having like special Halloween duties with me and the friends. So like I'm looking during this scary night, like I'm looking, like this scary Halloween night, like I'm looking like at Bill's home, that maybe I'm looking the scenario to be like, basically like Nancy had basically told Jonathan to like show up for like the Halloween party for like the for like which I'm looking Steve as well as like people who are that. since their age uh, at public schools that will be taking part in that Halloween party. And besides that, new guy as well to take only present in that Halloween party. It's also like the scenario that I will bring that new guy. Think of we also present in that Halloween party, and like Jonathan will be precisely so that Jonathan and that the person has been like even after like things like as time will get close up to like from that Halloween party, like I'm delivering Nancy like repeatedly calling Jonathan, and Nancy will be like feeling like totally would be adamant about like wanting Jonathan to like take part in that Halloween party. So like I'm doing like to the electionally like Jonathan deciding to like head over to that Halloween party is like the scenario that I was doing. So at Will's home like another Halloween party will be taking place in which Joyce's new boyfriend Joyce and Will as well as like Mike Lucas and Dustin will be taking part in certainly my other reason. So like I was bringing it like it will be precisely Bob I think like name's Bob like really like Joyce's new boyfriend definitely I was thinking will be in like that pumpkin Halloween outfit with like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I was looking like during that Halloween party, like the different like will select okay, this control in front of like everyone. I basically likes that monster of like taking control. So the future villain will like taking control of Will and basically will totally like the entire mannerism and everything like temporarily change from that point and basically Jack did totally attacking that Joyce's move boyfriend in that account something totally did like something those things and all that certainly my friend is like very attacking him and basically like him taking him serious injury from Will and Will would be totally having superhuman strength while like the monster will be taking control of Will. Certainly my friend so like is that Will Jack critically injuring like Joyce's move boyfriend and Joyce's move boyfriend after like injuring him like and the Will totally running away from like the home uh, of it was like the into like the box nearby, like the scenario that I was different. So like at that point I was already choice as well to see that at that point the time I was looking might look at something like they're running after it and like straight away and then the like choice as well will be like running after like them but like I was then like I was like badly injured and but like, at that point there will be nobody else other than like them. So like I'm looking at that point as like chose to be about to run after them like I'm looking like the badly injured uh, the badly injured like new boyfriend of like George, like he would be on the floor like basically like in pain, like in agonizing pain. He would be like screaming George's and calling out George's name. So like at that point, everything George totally like extremely reluctantly like basically like the George would be like sadly worried for like villains would want like or not will like George extremely reluctantly solely due to that seeing like basically that uh, seeing pain in which like but the Susan and the like Joe's which are expected to get into like the hospital and quickly go after like Will and so like that in the like Joyce would be like quickly driving to like the hospitals to like the scenario that I was having while Mike Susan Dustin would be chasing after like Will that would have turned into like most of the that would have that so that would be like the very same Will like without any transformation but like being controlled by this like most of heroine within Will with like scenario that I was having. So like will participants do about at that point. Like with that are running three pictures with that corpse that will be nearby his home. And Mike Lucas and Dustin chasing after Will. And I was like after like Mike Lucas and Dustin would be chasing after Will and reaching that pretty deeper location within that corpse. Like at that point, participant like maybe two possibilities like one possibility for like so Will that's like controlled by the monster all of a sudden stopping, running and basically turning back towards like Mike Lucas and Dustin and basically at that point like that that will be controlled by the monster like basically like running towards like Mike to like basically attack Mike with like another that so like fight does like will be about to attack Mike like at that very last second after like 11 showing up with like a Halloween outfit and basically like 11 using her superpowers and like stopping will it's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm looking since that kind of like an attack like how 11 had basically done to like Lucas while Lucas had basically picked that fight like Mike back then. And there is a similar kind of like superpower attack maybe totally directed at Will at that point as like will you be about can feel like controlled by the monster will be about to attack Mike like 11 using the superpower attack on Will. So like straight away I'm looking like Will exactly like you to back and Will as well like completely losing consciousness in like the scenario that I'm moving. So like at that point I was like then like at that point Mike would be totally shocked basically seeing the flag the seeing the flag child in like covered in like Halloween outfit, like basically using superpower, like Mike would be totally getting that strong feeling that's in League 11. So like at that point, I'm looking 11 slowly pulling out Halloween outfit and basically like Mike like eyes like blowing up and like basically my thought made like feeling relieved and relaxed and like right then self like it would be like to the extent of like 11 superpower at all that 11 would have used millions times. So like I'm sort of like as like look and this thing would be like and at that like Mike would have totally forgotten about the like Mike would be totally like would be staring at 11 and with that absolute relief and smile and joy and like I'm just like 11 as well really smiling at Mike and right then I'm looking like Lucas and the thing would be totally always of the seeing 11 but that by then like I was only looking at the thing seeing every like Prince will back. So like I'm looking at that point like the monster would have once again like got afraid by due to like 11 spoke about that like the monster would have retreated back to like the same to like letting go of its control temporarily of the at that point it's like the scenario that I'm in. And at that point like Villa will coming back to the scenario and will totally show by seeing 11 as well. It's like the scenario that I'm moving in sure that interaction numbers and like even selling microtransactions have to like what has happened since like 11 had disappeared back then and wait for the things to like microtransactions understand that like 11 telling microtransactions that like right now what is in the artistic about here that like 11 is like hiding 3% in at the house 3% that spots like basically along the lines like 11 revealing to like microtransactions substance is like the scenario that I'm looking for and that like offer like basically taking care of like 11 and all that like 11 totally revealing to like my gifts and the like at that point I'm looking for like Mike Lucas and Justin would only think that like offer is like doing like the right thing and everything is definitely that 11 should be staying hidden and should not be like walking around outside of the because of like even Mike Lucas and Justin is still concerned for 11 definitely right now the concern for 11 for like runners being finding out about like 11 and all that so that they were like at that point like number different like 11 by the time they were doing the fourth impact like I'm doing like 11 like really realized that basically it's almost time for like for like return back on like Halloween duty so like I was like 11 after like revealing all the critical information like my students and nothing like 11 quickly heading back to that how Steve then like must for like scenario that I was doing so like by the time Hopper would be returning back, like 11 would be totally putting on that absolute fake act as it's like she had spent like that and she had left that house like that night would be along the lines that I'm looking. But like I'm looking eventually maybe like Hopper probably figuring out that maybe or like I'm doing like 11 that they probably tricking Hopper like the scenario that I'm looking. And then after different like and during that interaction that 11 will be having with like Michael Cousins, like 11 will be also revealing us to like the exact time where like Hopper won't be present in that form. Hopper would have left for like 6 like every day. So like I'm just like from that day on like every day while Hopper will be leading for which like duty like I'm just like Michael and up to like so be sneaking in through that forest into that form where like 11 into that house where 11 is and basically hiding in and basically that way like Mike Lucas and Dustin and with like with just spending their time with like 11 and having fun and basically after they used to like basically them all having that fun and they believe them all like especially returning back before like often would be like returning back from work. It's like in the scenario that I'm looking at. Eventually, I'm definitely perfect like offer execution like offer is like a policeman like definitely like offer eventually would be like finding out that basically the should know about like elements like hiding place and with even showing up to like elements like hiding place like for crazily we're only finding out about this definitely by like the way like the condition of like the house as well as like the surrounding areas where like that house is in the form be like Hopper will be like without much creative like around those like Hopper will only figuring out about like relevant totally lying to Hopper and really is like that they should know and that they are meeting up with like 11 so like every day like over figuring that out like the scenario that I'm doing so like I'm looking like one day like I'm looking like Hopper person getting Mike Lucas and Dustin and Will and 11 all of them are red-handed while like they would all be like while it would be like during the time while Hopper would be away from work and like while Mike Lucas and Dustin and Will would be at like that house around like will 11 like at that point like I'm looking like Hopper so we are coming back expecting them to be there, and that's why canceling the odds are presented. And okay, so like the team of three impression right now is for like this one of my strongest that right now properly like right now made with like 11 to return back by exactly by 16 definitely Hopper won't give like that from at all. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. So because that's my mentor recently my brother impression definitely that like this like on the previous night of like Halloween day like since like will have basically woken up like basically and basically in like the middle of the night have basically seen those like two spider like monster in like the parallel world right outside his home in like the real world like basically at that point like the my good reference was that like this spider like extremely ginormous spider like form would be like the actual full final completed fully grown form of like these monsters. So definitely that had updated will in like the month and everything. It's definitely my good ambition. Like their completed finally fully grown form would be like these spider like monster. And I'm still thinking my good ambition that like these giant like spider like monsters there will be a great number of them in like the parallel world. That those monsters might have been like the monsters that might have played like the major total force in like the majority of like the humans possibly having gone extinct in like the parallel world and like the parallel world being rolled over by like would be actually rolled over by speed like extremely huge like we put the sleep spider like monster which would be like extremely tough and represent so like all sorts of attacks and everything and will have like exceptional faintly dangerous powers and everything. Certainly my memory. So, like when the spider-like monsters would be nearby to like the little monsters who would have not fully matured, like really like the monsters that the basic monsters that basically had abducted in like the beginning and all that, like really these monsters will be gaining a lot in strength whenever these spider-like monsters will be like nearby them. It's definitely not the trend. So, I'm like this might be like, and I'm going to the and I'm going to referring definitely to be the presence of like the spider like monster in like the parallel world, which might have been like definitely even near to that it's like the spider like monster, so it's really cute. Like I'm looking like it might be used like the presence of like spider like monster in like the town of Hawkins would be like in like the parallel world would be like the perfect reason during that time would be like the perfect reason for like during that time like basically at like for another look at laboratory like basically in like the real world like basically the alarm going off and all that like basically and even like the phone ringing and all that like might have happened because like the phone ringing in like Phil's home in like the real world like all happening simultaneously might have been like the side effects of like these just like huge spider-like giant monster being present nearby there in like the parallel world of the resonance. To be the effect of like this giant spider-like monster, like it's like powers having like the side effect of like it's strengthening up like the powers of like the normal side monster, like not fully grown normal size monster like this. So like I'm wondering like a similar effect might have happened to like the monster growing from within will as well. Like that monster as well, which like growing from within will might have gained a lot of power due to like the presence of like this giant spider like monster nearby in like the parallel world, especially maybe the remnants. So like due to that presence of like the giant spider like monster like this might have been like the great reason for like I'm like this most of from growing from within will might have gained a lot in its like strength and powers and might have lacked only in like the previous nights of like the Halloween day like and the like when Bill had basically seen this like giant spider like monster from outside of like home in like the parallel world like basically what that might have resulted might have been in like this monster from within will be gaining a lot of power and easily controlling will the like even more greater intensity and might have resulted in like will hopefully on the players might have having like this being controlled by the monster from within will might have like taken the life of like a great number of pets all around like the town of Hawkins. So like like on the very morning of that Halloween day, like Ambassador like the town of Hawkins might have probably and then after the town of Hawkins like all like the great portion of like the or like the majority of like the entire the town of Hawkins like might have woken up to like having the all of the pet uh, who were like basically outside of their home that previous night of Halloween day like basically ending up sad finding a wholesome like probably finding their pets dead lying dead on the ground, like basically that on like the day, on the very day, on the very morning of like the day of Halloween, might have been like the situation that the something like being being controlled by like the monk might have lost on that very night, especially my friend. So like probably because of this reason and the children like pop up definitely won't be able to like so like I'm certain will be getting back to like his station and the children like pop up or like I'm even before like Hopper even leaving that house where like he lives from like 11 right now. Like basically Hopper will be receiving like urgent call from like station to like quickly get back to like station. So like I'm preparing definitely when at the station Hopper will be totally receiving and seeing like a whole lot of like a great number of complaints from like the people living in like the town talking about like his complaint being like the very same just like them waking up that day seeing finding like the pet laying that on the floor, like basically, like there will be great number of complaints of like the exact same pattern. So like, and the different like pop up and so like I'm throwing this great number of complaints to the clear resulting like basically pop up, totally having to like basically spend resulting in like offer not at all being able to like make it back by keep the promises like 11 and not at all being able to like make it back early by 15, but also resulting in like offer even ending up being late than usual to like return back to like the house where 11 is in right now. So 11 is running. So like that with the scenario that I'm is for like 11 would it only for 11 would be like innocent yet only. It definitely has to be certain that basically Hopper would definitely be like on that Halloween day would be definitely making it back exactly by 5:50. So like 5:15 would be passing and 11 would be not seeing pop-up. So like get like I was like 11 would be having like serious levels of like patience. So that time the like 11 would be still keeping on waiting as like it would be like turning 6 o'clock and like still 11 would be like taking people still patiently waiting for pop-up and at the same turning 7 o'clock and 7:31. It would be like 7:30 and the like 11 would be totally accidentally fed up and losing 11 like absolute patience because especially on top of like basically not being able to uh, like talk to or like speak with or even meet like Mike the for like almost about the whole year while at the same time like everyone would have like been able to like or he said everything they will be like here every time Mike will be using like a radio phone except for like the entire the past year each day probably to like find the communicate with them. So like on top of like 11 basically or this would be like extremely disturbing for like 11 and 11 will totally badly missing Mike like so on top of all this like basically Hopper as well like basically on Halloween day like basically Hopper as well ending up being late with like the scenario that would be totally like as a, all these things like eventually ending up with like 11 being spread up and 11 deciding to 11 breaks the hole and basically 11 stepping out of the hole and basically 11 would be walking through like so like that house where like 11 would like lead something like the process was like until 11 would be at 7:30 when I was 11 would be stepping out of the park and just while wearing like the Halloween costume of 11 and basically we deciding to like basically to do the whole for three things and basically to have fun and basically and definitely the actually that 40 for 11 to like meet my like the name is especially my own membership of that so that if then like 11 will be stepping out and move through the box and that would be when number and by then like number it would have almost turned 8:30 by then, like, and like, Siloan would be in that box, and by then, like, I was like, still would have like totally lost control in like that Halloween party at like his home that night. By the time it will be like it will be almost 8 o'clock and or it will be 8 o'clock and then like 11 will be running and then like Bill would be like would be controlled by the monster who is totally running towards that box and that way like either I'm going to possibly like Bill totally like running at like Michael is an opportunity running after Bill to like stop Bill. But like Bill totally eventually run deep into the box and running towards like this running towards 11 is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And at that point like 11 would be able to like sense that like it's not even will that it's basically like like that person is like basically that like something strange about like that person like basically Quinn would be like on 3 11 and maybe like will be like about to attack 11 as well. So like at that point maybe like they don't straight away using 11's like superpowers to like basically stop with like the scenario that and everything. And at that point like Bill snapping out of it and basically like the monster like temporarily lose the control of Bill and that way like basically might end up like shortly finally seeing 11 after like almost a 4 years. Like the one possible scenario that I was bringing that so the possible scenario that I'm looking for like if that while Michael was and ultimately chasing after Bill. So it'd be like looking at some role like at that point like deeper in the post like Bill turning back and Bill trying to like run towards Mike trying to attack Mike. And at that point like they were stopping Bill and saving Mike. And basically that way like Mike was understanding all of them seeing elements after like almost the whole year. So they end up on a useful scenario, like the scenario that I'm looking at. Okay, so like the flavor of the picture right now it's like look of like stuff like recap the different stuff to like eventually in the show will be like into the industry that will be like having like a major important role eventually and definitely what you part of like in the adventure of like Mike Jefferson as like they will be trying to stop this monster and like the whole monster situation is eventually getting worse and lecture the step is around the maybe like maybe it will be in season 3 or like 4 maybe it would be in like season 4. Definitely about it by the time that it will be season 4. And the flip thing like Sarika, definitely Lucas stuff that Sarika would definitely leaving to the ending up being like an extremely relevant character. So she totally playing a major role in the whole adventure of like Mike Lucas and the flip. And all of them and 11 and all of them, especially and Avengers scenario that I'm me for the another impression right now. Okay, so like definitely one of the grand question right now as for like Mike, Lucas, and Dustin and Will's like basically Halloween costume being that of like exactly Ghostbusters. Like I'm thinking that would definitely be an absolute foreshadowing. It's definitely not a good thing. What would be happening like on that very night eventually is like the scenario that I was eventually because like of 11 definitely wanting to like basically like for us record with like basically even though like basically like the Halloween costume that basically 11 had chosen as that reflected those like I'm definitely predict like this whole ghost structure like coincidentally like might little kind of thing and will like basically deciding that precise Halloween day like when deciding to like select the ghost structure costume like it would definitely be an absolute foreshadowing because like I'm something like on the very Halloween night when I'm looking like they would be like Mike Lucas and the films would be like wearing this very same ghost structure costume while they would be essentially running through that forest while chasing after like when would be like losing control and while they would be running into 11 like would be like in 11's like fourth costume. So like that way like the first of like capturing like 11 would be alone like kind of like in a in a symbolical manner how like might look and would be like finally after like almost a whole year will be like meeting 11 like finally finding 11 like seeing 11 like at that point it would be like it would be like kind of like a symbolic manner of like them actually like being off purpose and then finally capturing the ghost like during the scenario that I'm looking for like during the venom that I'm looking to happen and I'm there's a like a the same person right now as for like Mike Joseph and Dustin and Will alone like showing up in like Halloween costumes too, like often cool while all the other students are not in like wearing any Halloween costumes like I'm just like maybe exactly I'm solely due to like one of like the students belong to like the Hawkins school might have actually died like the previous night the one might have happened. So like I'm just like the previous night like the most of controlling Will but most of might have controlled Will to the point of like basically will actually taking the life of like one of like the students belonging to like the school of Black Hawkins that we went to with maybe a particular like that student whose life that will might have taken the on the previous night might have been that of like either Roy or like Roy's friend. It's definitely my particular impression that number 20 one of them might have actually died like the previous night and this will be like the reason for like basically like there not being any Halloween party on like hoping to like basically on that very day of Halloween. That is all the remaining squad is like showing up without any Halloween costume to be prepared with the frustrating sitting my secondary and what's the right now. So like basically according to my filter impression like the sole reason for like Mike Lucas and Dustin alone like basically not being not realizing this might have been what might have happened and like the precise reason will be most likely due to like the phones that like specifically Mike Lucas and Dustin and Will's like phone alone being damaged the previous night. Definitely not the rest. So like I'm saying the previous night after that phone had basically ranks at like with home. Like basically and coincidentally precisely around that time like basically was like at like national laboratory as well like the alarm going off and everything like it should be precisely due to like that giant spider like monster getting close to that area in like the battle world with human defense, and that might not only stop like basically the form at like basically might represent substance and will form to get damaged in like the middle of the night might have been what might have happened. It's definitely my best limited. So like from the school there might have been the pieces might have fall. So like my total impression that like on the very morning of like Halloween day itself, like I'm looking like the teacher of like Hawkins school might have straight away called and phoned and informed like all the students of like Hawkins school that about like basically the test of like the one of the student of like Hawkins school like either it that would be like Troy or like his friend. And basically and because of that like there won't be like any Halloween party this year might have been along the lines from the school at the very morning of that Halloween itself, like early morning of Halloween itself, like it might have been informed. So from that school to like the home of like all students of like belongs to like the top course definitely remembering. So like solely due to like maybe it might be solely due to like the phone like especially might represent Dustin and will smoke alone like getting damaged to like quite like monsters percent like the players might have been in like the barrier, might have been like the reason for Mike, Lucas, and Dustin and Squid's family alone not being aware of this, and that's the most likely the reason for like Mike, Lucas, and Dustin, uh, and Squid alone like showing up in like Halloween costumes. Definitely one of the reasons. So like the game was something like Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will definitely I'm looking to get older without a great delay. Once they will be entering the school, they will be like probably getting scolded by the teachers as well as like they will be getting ridiculed and mocked and made fun of by all the students as well. It's like feeling of scenarios that are able to different. And so like that will like for like Mike, Lucas, and Dustin, and will like just they would be like the silent. They would be like an extremely bad day for them. And from like maybe like that event of setting in like maybe like even like because of like all and that way like my pictures and and will fall of would be in such really bad mood and that might even to certain like maybe get them quarreling between each other and like they will or the majority of that this very Halloween day like I'm feeling like for them it will be like a bad day yet like I'm assuming they will be sorting out like their whole issues and quarrels and they will be like they will be finally agreeing to like basically show up for like the Halloween party and like will uh, around like 8 o'clock type of scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm doing like for like the major and like they are like I'm definitely also working for Bill to like only list control and attack uh like Joseph's new boyfriend as well as like that Mike Lucas and Dustin like even witnessing that like really. So like that way like the getting even worse for like Mike Lucas and Dustin and Will. But like I'm looking like as they will be chasing after like Will and they will be running into 11 like and while also it happened like they would all be still in their Ghostbusters uniform and 11 will be they will be seeing 11 in the those outfit costume of like 11 in like that pose and they will be seeing 11 at that point like their that that day of like Michael and and will the majority of it which might have been towards not only that but might have been getting worse and worse like towards the end of that day, like I'm looking like it will be like the day will be getting like after like 11 repairs, they will be having like the best day like might have been like Saturday day when after like almost a year like basically they will be like meeting in that 11 again like they'll be realizing that 11 still alive like basically that way like that night like basically even though the entire day might have been like extremely bad for like my nuisance, any convenience being bad for like nuisance and build basically is that all changing everything all that changing like with like them like the moment they will be like with that absolute stock and stuff like that they will be like obviously like relevant in that for with like building the scenario that I'm again. Okay, so like actually my bigger impression right now is that of not trusting with issues and not believing in that with issues and thinking it's all just like flashback or nightmares. Like I'm so definitely still my bigger impression that like offer that basically always accompany maybe always like each and at the same time offer will definitely be accompanying when as like so it will be taking the to like see the stop for Owens and like for another level. Definitely my bigger impression and definitely that is visit by Hopper to electronics on the laboratory, there will be definitely Hopper without expecting that like, even in that room, there will definitely all that room will be like definitely CCTV monitors. So like Hopper still would be like even while being aware of Hopper without aware of it, and still would be like simply trying to like collect evidence with that absolute perfect step like Hopper would still be like like it basically definitely the that intent to like collect all sorts of evidence. It's like from like through his like his time while taking the to like furnace energy laboratory that Copper would definitely attempting and might have already collected a lot of evidence, but like Copper would want more and more evidence so that like it really could eventually provide that for once that Copper finally would be planning on making the move against like run up energy laboratory and run us team to like eventually shut them all down and bring them to the 75 perimeter because like at the stage of like the definitely Copper even though Copper would only like because like definitely like 11 would be such an absolute experience to leave for Hopper that basically like because like was like Hopper having lost with like no like definitely like 11 percent would be like such an absolute would be bringing so much joy and absolute really for Hopper. Still my consideration that like Hopper would be like still would be like even more than that breakdown like Hopper would definitely be prioritizing that 11 getting the freedom and being able to like meet 11 being able to like meet not only Magnificent of him but like 11 being able to get the race united with like 11 like Mother Teresa being able to like cut down of bank and all that like basically for 11 to get back to Mother and all that areas and all that like that would be definitely one thing that Hopper would be like breakdown determined to like ensure that happens definitely more than anything, certainly my brain measure. So like definitely even right now, like I'm looking like Hopper would be like stealthily, like slowly, gradually, like each time like Hopper would be taking the next some the other side Hopper would be slowly working towards like the uh Hopper plan to like eventually destroy like run up and destroy and shut down like run up and the library and to buy that freedom for 11. It's definitely my injury and also that is sitting on to another brain. Even for like the Korean production right now as well, like one of like foreigners men right now like entering like through like the gates into like the fan words from like foreigners and the never free with like the suit and like hold while holding like a metallic kind of like box like I'm that metallic box would be most likely containing all the weapons and necessary equipment for that and for like it would be like the task would be that would be assigned to him would be most likely because like they have already like had like and ever would just be like Shepherd's failure alone like really like the runners have like Shepherd like literally ending up being that upper like passing through the gates into like the battle world. But like the example where like there might have been multiple tribes by like a bunch of men from like foreign nationality laboratory or like a bunch of people that they might have totally uh, recruited for this job and they that they might have probably like gotten to enter into like the parallel world and might have ended up that is definitely maybe true. So like right now that's a task for like the precise person. So like right now from within like runners and the level place like into like the parallel world will be to like would be to like most likely to like collect like body parts of like the monster of living intention like no matter how small like it would be to like basically to study like the DNA of like the monster and all that would be certainly the brain so like to collect like any even if the tiniest bit of like DNA or like body parts of like the monster uh, like would be like the whole tasks that might have been assigned to like this person, like if like right now entering into like a variable and when I am looking up and basically never change and definitely able to like a was like in right so right now entering into like the parallel world like I'm like a person created at all like I'm like slowly running into that giant spider like that giant spider like monster like the scenario that I'm looking again like I'm like that will definitely be by that giant spider like monster like the scenario that I'm looking over the and definitely through like with like screen right now having like monitors to like really see what like that person sees in like the value and I'm looking for like them also seeing like they would do most likely only seeing like a huge limb alone of like the monster which would be like striking like that person with like such great high speed and basically they won't be able to like the remaining team members of runner from like runners and the syllabus we won't be able to like see anything other than like a huge other than what might appear to be like a huge limb of some of like the monster like basically instantly taking the life of like that person like the scenario that I'm basically playing on the screen. Yes, so like the universal questions were like since like trainer experiments were to like create like the ultimate weapon so the like right now with like the whole situation being like definitely the like for enough and like entire team totally would be even to the person they would be the only thing that like 11 might have died the different like them right now would be able to like once again restart that experiment to create like ultimate weapon by basically like creating like that monster in the energy laboratories for enough might have been like the current goal and plan of like the team of like remaining team of like finals implement of reality. So like in order to create that monster like they from scratch like they would actually would be needing that DNA sample of that monster. So like to collect the DNA sample of like that monster might be the reason for like this person right now like basically entering into like the entering into like the parallel world from the right now. So, okay, so like definitely the Korean version right now as well, like the Owens right now basically like using like the for as like he's like watching like the CCTV footage of like during like the appointment of like Tom Owens like I'm probably because of like I think most likely knowing that I'm still remember that he would be probably knowing like basically that like was definitely like the monster will be grown from the pinwheel and like the monster will eventually emerge and grow once like the monster will from the temple will be reaching that point of growth, like initial point of growth, like it will be like only taken with like and emerging out of it. Will be along the lines like a good like secondly top province would be like when fully aware of the events of the empathy. That's for what would be like telling the scenario is that only what like even top province will be totally thinking it's definitely with the and this is like the monster like would be so extremely powerful and like that itself would be like the catch for like the remaining organs and like the remaining members of like criminal team that basically that way like they would always seeing that the monster as like 11th like replacement and like maybe as like a better replacement because like they would be seeing like the monster that's being like some way more powerful the possibility of like the monster like having potential to like grow even more stronger than 11 is also like living with eventually. So like definitely probably because of this reason I'm definitely like going to be using that script for while hearing that he'll talk about like feeling person and like they're talking about like his December and everything certainly they will be all like patiently waiting for like the month and then they would be like through all this assessment like they would be patiently waiting and like they would be having a feeling until they would be the only thing that will really when it would be like almost time for like a month of like merge or something like by then like thing would be like totally losing control will be along the lines like they will be things so that at that point for them to like actually swiftly make their movements catch up will and important will in like the quickly take and suddenly like quickly capture and shake will to like turn up the laboratory and basically like so that like once like at that point they would be only doing that like the most of emerging out of it like that time would be like close by so that at that point once like the most of him and to like put well into like such an isolated kind of like a tight secure location within like Pranasam laboratory so that like once like the monster emerges out of like that laboratory, maybe like they will be able to like contain like the monster certainly images of kind of so and those are like at that point like they might be then planning on like maybe closing the gates as well in like Pranasam laboratory. So also like about to do that and like, they would only like maybe like right now their highest priority would be to just get to create that ultimate weapon like that would be maybe like the highest priority. So like if let's say like close the gate like within like Puranas and the laboratory, then I'm putting that might or like say enough certain of content of resources in like Puranas and the laboratory, maybe that might so that might certain like the whole undoing process of like the folding between like the real world and travel world. And that way if that happens then the like the monster won't be might not be able to easily like escape from like the create the bottle and escape from like the railroad and travel world. But also like a maybe like a possibility that and so like this will be what like maybe like what like the paper like the remaining members of like for another state including Owen will be like totally planning for the members of the condition. That way to like feel like the monster from within like for another will be laboratory and to create multiple of these monsters and to totally control them somehow and basically into like that way turning them into like multiple exceptionally stronger ones that will be like obeying like comments like this will be like number one maybe like the ultimate goal of like the current of like Owens and like the current remaining team members of Ghana right now. it's definitely another impression, right? Okay, so then definitely I'm still thinking about the impression right now with like Nancy so badly wanting to like sell the truth to like about Barbara to that Barbara family. And still like totally objecting to it. Like Nancy agreeing, like still I was bringing into definitely Nancy. Like and the still and that still feeling I'm also like through engineer or something like causing that extreme disturbance to Nancy and keep reaching the point where like Nancy will be like totally what totally finally deciding to like basically everything and basically tell the truth about Barbara to like Barbara's family. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at. But like I'm looking at things totally going secretly going wrong even beyond what like Nancy will be expecting. Because like Nancy won't be like even though actually it would be like totally expecting like Barbara's fans to like straight away not be much to like she's to get angry and like to please to get angry with Nancy might have been not at all expected. Won't be like expecting like scenario where like Barbara Stack would be straight away telling Nancy or telling Nancy that basically she's that like basically Nancy only comes because like she was afraid of like rape and like basically finding the truth about like Barbara like basically along such lines. So like I was going like along such lines that's like the moment like so sole reason for like Nancy when confessing the truth to like Barbara's parents would be along the lines of like Barbara's parents would be like straight away accusing Nancy. At that point, it's like the scenario that I'm listening, and Barbara's parents straight away would be so extreme disregard and like quickly that will be shouting out at like Nancy, like threatening her to definitely with her ensure that like she ends up in jail, like the scenario that I'm listening. Maybe not just Nancy, but like them like threatening Nancy with like having Nancy as well as like her entire family because of them hiding this truth from like um, Barbara's parents. Like basically along the lines of they will be saying that like the scenario that I'm putting that along the lines that they will be saying and I was like threatening Nancy with like, definitely going to do it. So like I was like the scenario to be like in this like girl scene Halloween party in which like Steve and Nancy would be like Amber definitely taking part in Amber's like so that fourth Halloween party while everyone would be having fun like Amber like Steve as well would be like easily able to like forget about Barbara and then would be totally having fun but like Amber like Nancy won't be like having able to like have fun at all like usually like target stuff wrong like Nancy of like that Halloween party and I was trying to really Steve not think this and I was like Steve like probably should that should but like comfort Nancy and they will be once like the Halloween party will be over and but Steve will be like finally heading back to his home and like Nancy as she will be heading back to her home like I'm listening along the way like I'm listening like that guilt like along her way the way of like Nancy back to her home like I'm listening she will be crossing like the home of like she would have to like cross the home of like Barbara's parents so I'm listening like definitely like she will be like getting on her way back as she would be getting near to like Barbara's home like I'm like at that point I'm listening like that guilt to like totally be so extreme for Nancy that I'm looking like Nancy finally deciding to like at that point like stopping in the car and basically like on her way back to her home when I'm looking like from like the Halloween parties when like I'm looking Nancy will be like stopping by like going to like basically Barbara's home and confessing the truth about Barbara to Barbara's parents with like the scenario that I'm only bringing on screen. Okay, so that but legal representation right now has got like right now with like 15 that like making all the news and even inviting like maximum to like the support rate like White Luther is like standing right there beside like Dustin totally unable to like even say a word like that. Yeah, I'm still thinking about the remember to man like eventually it would be like I'm the police usually it was like I'm not going to like totally falling in love with like Dustin like the scenario that I was trying. And those were like initially still thinking about experimental that it is good. But like I'm looking right now the same only cutting for like maxing to like a basic like the record rating of from dubbing like the scenario that I'm thinking. But like I'm looking like eventually still like maxing would be like slowly growing more and more on of like something slowly like the scenario that I'm looking at. And in the case of Lucas I'm also like Lucas I'm also like eventually once like Mike Lucas and all of them would be like running into Cali at some point. Like it was only at that point that I was like Lucas would be only. And I was only when it comes to like Cali, I was like something totally not all straight away, not all like in Cali at all. The same scenario that I expect. But like Lucas straight away, Lucas first version of Cali itself would be like really like Cali is like so extremely cool. like the scenario that I'm looking, and I'm looking like eventually I'm looking like Charlie will be only falling for Luther, while like Maxine will be only falling for something. It's like the scenario that I'm sitting on them. Okay, so like the name I would say I'm right now, and for like 11th right now, taking the life of like just the squirrel and basically trying to do the like really fundamentally about the 11th, like basically it being like extremely frustrating and disturbing for 11 basically like for like a whole year, like 11 like basically staying in that very same house. 11 would be like or the course of like this one past year, like 11 might be feeling like getting like the same feeling as back when 11 was trapped like like pranasam of the labor really like pranam like basically it might have been like a similar kind of like a feelings traumatic kind of feeling like that that 11 would be like only going through. But definitely right now is definitely for like the past whole year, and especially right now with like a whole year passing like everything like 11 will be only trying to like do something different like basically like it will be like the very same routine, and I'm looking for like 11 will be like eating like the very same food, and basically and on top of that like 11 right now on TV like basically even seeing like a romantic movie or something like basically 11 might have on top of that like might have always also been a reminder of like Mike on seeing that romantic movie is also like even brain version that like another like 11 might have only been spread up. So like I'm just right now that basically that 11 right now that chasing after the square like this incident might have happened like way before like even 5 stage when like Hobbs had promised like 11 to like because like I'm like 11 might have even before that like 11 might have only gotten fed up with like this same routine, and basically on top of like missing Mike and everything that like 11 might have that might be the preparation for like 11 right now that taking the life of the squirrel and trying to like feed it because like Eleven would be so desperate to like to do something to be able to like do something different for a change after like the entire trip, like the ones we are like basically you don't know be so desperate to like do something different try out something different from her life for a change. It can be my experience. But that doesn't make it question right now with like the like stranger noticing 11 as like 11 what's about to be like you are like I'm looking like right now for 11 to like definitely take the life of that stranger like the scenario that I'm preparing, and this I'm preparing maybe will be what like right now I'm preparing like that like 11 taking the life of that stranger and that stranger ending up that, and I'm preparing like people that related to that stranger like coming looking after uh, uh, coming searching in that forest, like looking for that stranger and finding in that depth. And then this would be like how birthday or everything would be resulting in like pop-up would be part of like this investigation, looking into like the corruption and like the cause of like the death of like this person. And basically, Hopper would be well and fully aware that, like, at that point, that, like, by the location of, like, where this person's death is, like, like, Hopper would be well and fully aware that we need to definitely, in a way that might have done that. It's definitely my reaction. So, Hopper only that, at that point, that like, Hopper only slowly realizing that basically the, the issue was like the way he had treated 11 for like the past 1 year by trapping 11 into that into the wall within like that wall of like that house like exactly like because it had triggered like it would have totally triggered that that disturbance that 11 had while she was trapped within like Pranathan like laboratory for almost great number of years in like basically story of like at that point of the like of realizing what he had done to 11 and all that. Definitely my good impression, and I'm looking like definitely I'm looking like on this very day I'm looking like it will be most likely due to that 11 taking the life of that stranger that I'm looking for that they won't be like able to like keep this promise and won't be able to like make it back to that house where 11 is in by seeing like the scenario that I'm waiting for the because like and that was like definitely the police unfortunately like even searching like the house, but like I'm just like even somehow like I'm just very carefully how of my doubt with all the courses like this past 1 year like how might not only see the bed might not only there's like a secret safe basement like area for like 11 to hide in case of like any emergency in case of like anyone like finding out like 11 like finding out like showing up to that house where 11 is hiding in that basically in case like some emergency like that happens. Like I'm saying, 11 might have already might have for like the past year, like I'm like 11 might have built such a basement like area and like run up. I mean like Hopper might have built such a basement like hiding secret area from within that home within that house, and they really might have even like I never was it only aware of like basically Hopper might have told 11 to like hide in case of there in case of any emergency, hide in case of like any emergency, and so like that way like I'm in the police searching like that house that near to like that place where that stranger would have died like and like still on searching like I'm like them not being able to like find anything, especially because of like 11 like okay hiding in that secret area in that house, which like the police won't be finding like the scenario that I'm doing. But like offer at that point would be extremely tense, like spreading like the possibility of like basically the subordinates of offer like basically finding out like that secret area within the house and finding out 11. So also like a possibility that I'm offering. And definitely this step of like the stranger, like mysterious stuff of the stranger, like without with like the cause of the like totally being unknown, like it would be like a scenario and basically that way like this mystery and possibly like catching like the interest of like mobile bomb and as well. It's like the scenario that I was looking and that way like mobile bomb and getting attracted to like basically doing this like investigations around that area near to like the house where like 11 will be hiding simply member. So like I'm supposing like after like 11 right now will be taking the life of stranger. Like the scenario that I'm looking at straight away like at that point like 11 shockingly maybe realizing that maybe feeling a regret in doing that and maybe like 11 quickly deciding running off back to like the house and hiding there. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at. Okay, so like the feeling of the person right now was like 11 only being reminded of like basically like basically 11 using a superpowers to like basically attack that stranger who had fought on 11 outside and that's when like he might have that stranger might have definitely died with that name of the stranger. So like 11 only being reminded of that incident like as like right now 11 sees like the squirrel another squirrel like outside like 11's like window I think that's so this incident itself, like of 11 take the life of stranger might have happened on the very day after like Hopper might have left for duty. Definitely remember stranger. So like after like Hopper had left for duty, like this might have totally happened and 11 might have taken the life of the stranger and 11 might have ran back to the home and like 11 might have totally actually might have and it might be after that like 11 might have been casually watching like all the TV shows, all the romantic movies and everything might have been like 11 that watching all that might have been as soon as if not much on that very day after taking the life of that stranger sitting by the stranger. Okay, so like the film of the real is sitting on those definitely that like Murray farm like the function like Murray's farm might have definitely been poisoned due to like will like the amount of ground from within will like controlling will and basically might have been will that might have the amount of from within will that might have caused will to like basically eat all those like pumpkins in that farm great number of launches in that farm and like definitely but like the monster will be controlling build like I mean like the monster powers as well would be like going through will and numbers one like that might also something like will's like teeth as well like poison flowing through like will's teeth yeah like will be immune to that poison because of like while like the monster will be controlling will be also immune exactly having like the power that affects the monster and basically causing will to be even immune to like a poison and that would be how like all the poison all the pumpkins in like Murray's farm like that huge number of poisons like ending up being in that poison state, especially when it comes to that sitting on when it's definitely as for like right now this person like accusing Merle of like basically like falsely accusing him of like poisoning Merle's farm and getting revenge by poisoning his farm like basically even had as well would be like totally like what's going but like the monster from within will like basically since like the previous night basically Will had basically seen that giant spider like monsters from outside this home in like the middle of the night seeing the parallel world from like the real world as well. Like since like at that point as well, like a lot of like Bill might have been totally out of control by like that monster from the Bill and like it might have been in that previous night that like Bill might have okay like gone off to that precise farm of like that person that Merle is like accusing of that having person this Merle's farm like and was next to lead to that person's farm like that Bill might have gone next. Will might have been might have gone next and consumed all the pumpkins in like his farm as well, and that way his farm as well ending up right now being poisoned. His pumpkins in like his farm as well ending up being poisoned right now. Might have been what might have happened. It's definitely the ambition that I'm shooting on. So like definitely the ambition right now that for like Maxine right now telling that her brother that like the place of like the town of Hawkins is not that bad. Like for Maxine to say that right now, this only due to that single conversation from like Dustin from school that Maxine just now at school. It's definitely my friend, which like Maxine definitely deep down might have genuinely like definitely my friend. Maxine genuinely deep down might have found like something interesting. Yet like I'm different most like they Maxine not straight away like giving ideas or like even showing up for like the recovery. It's like the scenario I identify. So like my Surya version is definitely so like Maxine might not want to like give a straight good yes to like Justin, and solely due to that reason I'm also like maybe even though deep down like through that Maxine Justin's interaction with like Maxine at like Hawkins told like Maxine might have totally found Justin interesting, and Maxine might have totally wanted to like come for like for free. So I think it's like Justin and still under like Maxine might have generally wanted to like come and yet like I'm like Maxine might have totally uh, purposefully said no to not say a quick sudden yes to that doctrine, especially when the reimbursement. So yeah, like my birthday, so like I'm not definitely for Maxine to like not show it for like the support rating. But like I'm not different still Maxine would be like totally looking forward, deep down would totally looking forward to like the to Maxine's next interaction with like Maxine as like pocket school. Definitely my personal impression. So like definitely from the impression right now as for like Maxine product like right now acting in an extremely aggressive manner towards like Maxine definitely impressing right now that basically Maxine's product might not be definitely not be like mentally stable. It's definitely my birthday impression. It might have been due to like some sort of like a traumatic event that might have happened in like the distant past in like in his life. It's definitely my birthday impression. So like I'm referring like maybe it might have been like the death of like one of their parents, like it might have been like either like their mother or like their father might have totally died in like the past, and it might have happened to like some fault of like nothing because of the definitely my good impression. So like that since then like I was like Maxine like so that might have been in that in the picture of like the state is definitely my good impression that like we might have taken out like all that disturbance and frustration of like basically we might have like maybe like accidentally might have like played a role in like basically the death of like parents, whether it's mother or father, like kind of like maybe like people might have played it, like maybe like people might have that the school might have maybe played blamed him for that or like something along the lines like and certain people might have blamed him and that might have caused him to like end up in such an extremely aggressive caused him to like develop such an extremely aggressive nature. Right now, it's definitely one of the reasons. So like that aggression like I'm like maybe someone from like previous school might have maybe like picked on him or like not or like accused him of like being the culprit behind like the death of which like a mother or father might have been like within up that might have happened. Then so he might have totally reacted in like an extremely aggressive manner and he might have badly like sub that badly attacked and sub like that student in like the previous student that and at that point I was like Mac it might have been might have ended up seeing this and Maxine might have totally tried to like stop her brother as like and like she might have not been able to like stop her brother. So like I'm just like once like the teachers had given shown of like I'm just like maybe like they might have totally maybe like like situation as to like basically like Maxine as well as like her brother being part of like this attack on like the students might have been along the lines maybe like the teachers there might have missed the truth and that way like both Maxine and her brother might have gotten like the TC might have been what might have happened. Definitely, I was very much so like Maxine's brother would be like an extremely vulnerable kind of like a character who would be like totally not having like any sort of like balance in life or in his like behavior. Definitely, my was very impressive. So definitely that way, like basically it would be actually due to that even while like Maxine's brother right now shout aggressively towards the Maxine to tell for Maxine to tell that she is the reason and that like they have ended up in like the of like in actuality to the reason would be like in actuality the truth would be like the reason would be with like nothing from that like they are right now in the town of especially my brain. So like right now I'm about to bring right now like Maxim's product basically rating towards like basically rating towards like striking like my represent of like and the like I'm right now definitely Maxine definitely because we would be known her for the past when like she would be like totally like seeing like the definite possibility of like her brother like doing what he says and basically actually fighting like my little kind of name will around the bicycle. So like I'm looking right now for Maxine like probably shouting out to like her brother that literally she it was her fault. This won't be the quote yet like she will be saying that solely to like protect like Dustin and Mike Littleton and all the from her brother like the scenario that I was like so like I was at that point I was for like Dustin totally getting angry at like the fast driving and then like Dustin totally shouting at like shouting back at the car and basically after like shouting would be when like Dustin will be like even sorting like Maxine in like the car. So like at that point I was like Maxine crazy brother like at that point like I was like to lose control even more and I was like it's getting even more triggered and angry and acting towards like Dustin in an extremely aggressive manner and then those Maxine totally even cutting for Dustin. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at. Mike as well as like Lucas as well as Tim will be trying to like stop like actually but like I'm going to say will be like so extremely strong that basically I'm going to like I think like pushing them all away and basically if we keep one substance that will be like taking the maximum injury of like that from like the attack of like uh, from the attack of like Maxine's brother was like the scenario that I'm going to bring. Yeah, I'm going to bring like Maxine will be like probably most likely maybe like maybe even actually telling sorry to like the badly injured and probably even bleeding Dustin is like the scenario that I was doing. And like at that point like my brother would be shouting out to like my team to like get in the car and like they would be named just like the scenario that I'm doing. And like the next day at the test school I'm about to bring like all the teachers that everyone like have seen like even the fans would be asking Dustin as to like what happened like with like all the injuries that will be present in like the extreme injuries that will be present in like the field face like I'm like maybe in that attack like I'm Dustin once again losing the seat as well. About which like Dustin is take so much pride and basically like that attack from that matching like brother and the thing maybe Dustin will once again losing that face. It's also that set of face is also like about that. So like I was thinking like the next day, like, and then I was thinking like once like something would be coming back, like I was thinking Dustin totally would be definitely having that genuine feeling of appreciation towards like Maxine even after all that, like and so like I was thinking Dustin to totally like to like Dustin's parents about like the injury that like Dustin saying something along the lines of like he rode his like bicycle for really fast and had tripped and fell. And that was the reason for his injuries. And I was like, Dustin for like keeping up that very same like even at school as well in front of like the teachers as well like the scenario while the teachers will be like totally asking like even class will be totally asking the students like what exactly happened and Dustin will be like lying there as well so like I'm also all this like I'm also putting definitely for Maxine to like notice all this and literally Maxine will be totally looking for her to like her brother to like her and her brother to like get her brother to get his like next PC and basically like that way like her having to like basically live with her get transferred with her brother to like another school and leave the town of Hawkins to be what like and that's where Maxine will be totally expecting us like she will be like showing up to school the next day but like Maxine is totally shocked and seeing like how Dustin was would be like totally lying about like the injury to all the teachers and everyone, especially members of the emotion. And that like that would be like creating that as sympathy within sympathy within like Maxine's towards like Dustin. That would definitely be yeah, at that point I was like definitely seeing Dustin even after like all that injuries like Dustin totally lying and protecting like lying was like Maxine totally asking at that point confronting like still trying to like keep up maybe keep up some attitude and imagine at that point like confronting Dustin and asking Dustin as to like why he's like about his injuries to everyone like really at that point like I'm about to bring maybe like Dustin telling her that like because he wants her in the school, like basically along this line, or like he wants to take her, or like he wants her in Maxine in the school. Maybe along the lines, Dustin will be saying, and Amber saying that would be like totally the point where like Amber saying Maxine will be like genuinely changing that, see this kind of like an effect into like Dustin, like the scenario that Amber is saying. And my preparation was that like after like that whole attack which I was running by like Maxine brother on like Dustin, Mike Lucas and when where like I was some majority of like the attacks would be directed by Dustin to certainly my preparation because like Dustin would be like the one without realizing if like Maxine brother would be shouting back at like the car initially. So like that way like Dustin being ending up being like the main target of like Maxine brother and that way Maxine brother like that thing like majority of attack Dustin and that way Dustin getting like the most injuries is like the scenario that I'm saying. So like from that point on I'm going to like Mike Joseph as well as like Will would be like repeatedly like trying to get Dustin to like complain to like the principal for like my twin brothers attack like ambusment like Michael and when all of them would be like repeatedly telling Dustin to like complain to the principal but like ambusment like Dustin alone like deciding to like not do that. So lead due to like something like affection towards like Maxine is like the range of scenario that ambusment probably bring ambusment. It is like the thing of the three ambition right now for like 19 for the right now the director like not attack Maxine but understand and basically instead like thriving off like and with like Maxine feeling that skill doesn't have like I'm looking like family was like the very next day at school like I was like Maxine it was most likely Maxine that would be like walking up towards like my children and Dustin and well and I'm also most likely right now the bring like at that point Maxine is selling them sorry like the scenario that I'm looking at that would be like what should be forming that like absolute uh bond of friendship that would be like the beginning stages of like that absolute bond of like friendship being formed between like Mike Vickers and Buckman Bill and Matt being split and Matt is slowly being part of like the group. Eventually it's like also like the possibility, such a possibility that I'm looking and that would be like the beginning stages. And I was like at that point like Dustin only asking like Dustin or Lucas most like them was something at that point while Matt was telling sorry to like them for like brother to like road together and for the Dustin most likely asking Martin as to like why she did that and then like at that point maybe like bring Maxine getting insecure and Maxine maybe like getting angry and Maxine like maybe like in an angry manner maybe like telling Dustin that basically like that's all they need to know that will be along the lines of bring that Maxine telling them and basically Maxine straight away walking away but like I'm like eventually like I'm like Maxine brothers like the behavior and the getting worse because like eventually I'm like Maxine ending up Mike Vickers and Dustin and will like ending up interacting and spending time with like Maxine more and more and like definitely Maxine to like brother eventually ending up seeing the like the scenario that I'm looking and at that point like Maxine's brother like totally bullying like Mike Lucas and Dustin and Will and over talking to Maxine and basically like at that point I was just like it would be Dustin that I was putting like will be like talking back to like some brother like some more out of all of them. So like I'm saying that way Dustin getting targeted by her brother and definitely putting initially for like Maxine brother to like quickly attack and badly injure Dustin eventually select the scenario that I'm looking at and definitely sitting to my perspective it would be at that point that sympathy that like Maxine will be feeling towards like Dustin at that point would be like growing into like an absolute feeling of affection towards like Dustin. It's like right into the scenario that is switching on them and him. So like the same of question right now is for like that spin batsman in like Jack like entirety of like being field like I'm something that would actually be like the modes of like in the middle of the night while controlling spin like I'm saying really that modes are like marking its territory. It's definitely my concern. That would be the preparation for like that entire area basically having that spin batsman. It's definitely my concentration.